Hey guys, thanks for having me on. For those of you that don't know me, I am Tom Hannifan. I am the co-host of Paydirt, a Penn State football show, along with former Penn State and NFL quarterback Matt McGloin. We're available on the Believe Podcast Network, ESPN Radio State College, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, literally wherever you get your podcasts. We've got all the recaps and previews and interviews that you could ever want regarding Penn State football. But I am here to pick some winners for this weekend slate. So let's take a look. In the Big 12, Kansas visiting Oklahoma after Oklahoma got shellacked last week by Texas. I am all aboard the Kansas hype train. I am taking the Jayhawks on the road in Norman. Pac-12, USC at Utah. As much as I like what the Trojans are doing as of late, there's something about Utah at home that makes me want to lean towards the Utes. So I'm going to take Utah against the Trojans. Next up, UNC at Duke. I am biased a little bit. My father got his master's degree from Duke. However, Duke is not necessarily spectacular when it comes to football. I know they'll put up a fight against UNC, but I am taking the Tar Heels in Durham. Shifting to the SEC, Mississippi State at Kentucky. I don't even have to really think about this. Former Penn State quarterback Will Levis, who many expect to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, is going to lead the Wildcats to a win against the Bulldogs. Clemson at Florida State. Considering the way the ACC has gone this year, I do expect a little bit of competition from Florida State, but still, this should be easy for Clemson on the road in Tallahassee. The Tigers look like they're starting to get back into that classic Dabo form. LSU at Florida in the swamp. Honestly, I think Brian Kelly is on the verge of his first signature win with the Tigers. Him and his family are going to pick up a big win against the Gators, I think, this weekend. It should be a really tight matchup, but I think LSU wins. NC State at Syracuse. I was talking a little bit about how the ACC is kind of a little unpredictable right now. I think NC State is very competitive. At the same time, this is one of the best Syracuse teams we've seen in years. I'm thinking like Donovan McNabb era years. So I'm taking the orange at home. Oklahoma State at TCU. There's my dad. Oklahoma State at TCU. As much as I think the Pokes are favored, this has all the makings of an upset because of how topsy-turvy the Big 12 has been. Look at what Texas Tech has been capable of this season. So I really like what TCU can bring here at home. I'm taking the Horned Frogs against the Cowboys. Just going to wait for him to move. This one is very difficult for me. In the Big Ten, my Penn State Nittany Lions on the road at Michigan. It's all a part of Big Noon Kickoff on Fox this coming Saturday. My heart says Penn State, but my gut says Michigan. This is very difficult for me. I think ultimately Michigan's defense is able to get some pressure on Sean Clifford, whomever is playing quarterback, and also the running game from Penn State could run into some problems against this Wolverine defense. I think it'll be low scoring, but I am taking Michigan at home, sadly. Last but not least, everybody's talking about this game. Alabama at Tennessee. The Volunteers look like the Volunteers of old. All of a sudden, Hendon Hooker has been phenomenal. The big question going into this game is, will Bryce Young play? And at the time I'm recording this, that is still a question. If he does play, I think Alabama wins. If he doesn't play, I still think Alabama wins. Considering the narrow wins that Alabama has had, notably the Texas A&M game this past week, I understand everybody thinks Tennessee could really smack them in the mouth considering they have home field advantage. But Nick Saban is very good about, after very close wins where he knows his team was the better team, that he rounds them into shape very quickly. So as much as this looks like all the makings of a Tennessee win at home, I am picking Alabama. Thank you guys so much for having me on. And for any of you that want to get some of your own Smack Apparel, go to smackapparel.com and use my promo code Paydirt, Paydirt, for 10% off your order right now. Thank you so much for having me, guys, and enjoy the college football weekend.